Coming up on this Wednesday edition of Morning Drive.
It's only for real superheroes.
The world's best are flying high in China for the WGC HSBC champions. But can Hideki Matsuyama return to his winning ways and successfully defend his title? And with the news that the women are headed to Pebble Beach for the 2023 US Women's Open, we'll look back at the best moments from this storied venue.
And Tiger Woods is the 100th US Open champion.
There's a shot that'll be remembered for as long as golf continues to be played.
We'll examine the benefits of holding a major at a public golf course. And as Junior Golf Week rolls on, our team of experts are assembled to help your junior get college ready, as we tell you how to prepare their game for the next level. It's all ahead this Wednesday, October 25th, 2017. Well, good morning, and we have a full house for you today. Myself, Cara Banks, alongside the 2008, I should say, Masters champion Trevor Immelman, Damon Hack and Charlie Reimer are with us, plus Matt Janella, all along for the ride across the next 2 hours. But first, let's get straight to what is happening now. And my goodness, after becoming the first player from Asia to win a World Golf Championship at Sheshan last year, Hideki Matsuyama is back to defend his WGC HSBC Champions title this week. He was so impressive in Shanghai last year, went bogey-free across his last 45 holes to win what was then his third career PGA Tour title. Well, Henrik Stenson finished runner-up last year, and he, along with world number one Dustin Johnson, joined China's own Hao Tong Li to try and swoop in on Hideki's trophy like nothing we've ever seen before. Trevor?
Looks like these guys are having a great time. They all credit to them for being good sports.
Well, let's hear their reaction after flying high in Shanghai.
Don't try this at home. It's only for real superheroes.
It was fun though, different. It was pretty cool being suspended up in the air.
That was harder than it looked, if I put it that way. Yeah, I think that I wouldn't want to be up there much longer, that's for sure.
My harness wasn't too bad. I was comfy up there. Yeah.
Relax back.
Good sports. I'd say they had a pretty good time. Now, let's check this out. 2013 champion DJ and defending champion Hideki Matsuyama will tee off in the opening round together of the WGC HSBC champions in prime time tonight at 10:50 p.m. Eastern. They will be joined by the world number 5, who is making his tournament debut. That's young Jon Rahm. And I'm interested, Trevor, in the different challenges that these three will face this week, all kind of entering this from a different position. Let's start with Hideki, the defending champion.
Well, word is he cracked his driver in the playoffs, and he's been struggling to find something that he's totally comfortable with off the tee. So it's going to be interesting to watch him, play this week. This is a golf course. He did play well last week in Malaysia, finished tied for 5th. But that golf course, you don't need driver as often. This course here this week in China, driving is very important, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
And he's got to feel as comfortable as any playing on this course. He knows Asia, of course. He's from Asia. He won it last year. Should evoke some good memories for him, you'd expect.
Absolutely. He is so wildly popular over in Asia. He'll have a lot of following this week, a lot of crowd support, and obviously loves the golf course, winning this event by 7 strokes last year.
Yeah, it was an impressive display. Now, Dustin Johnson, he has won here before as well, but that was 4 years ago. He made it quite clear in some sound on Golf Central last night, saying, I haven't flown halfway around the world just to have fun. I'm here to win.
Exactly right, and that's been his attitude since taking over the mantle as world number 1. He wants to stay there. Dustin hasn't played too much golf, only the President's Cup since the FedEx Cup playoffs, so it'll be interesting to see, how much work he's put in this off-season, how he's trying to pace himself. And also, with the injury struggles he's had, this has been a long trip for him over from the United States. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any effects from that and how well he's moving as the tournament gets going. Yeah,
is he well rested or is he rusty? We'll have to wait and find out. Jon Rahm, on the other hand, has had quite a few weeks. He's been travelling across to Europe, played Italy, played Spain, missed the cut there, and now he's made his way over to Asia for really the very first time. Now, we haven't seen a lot of firsts on the PGA Tour phase Jon Rahm much before, but travelling, is that going to make the difference?
It could, but like you say, there hasn't been a hurdle that he hasn't been able to overcome so far. A real meteoric rise in the professional ranks, but he really has been all over the place. Italy, Spain, so that's a 6-hour time change that he's dealing with. And as you touched on earlier, hasn't played this golf course before, so he's going to have had a busy couple early practice round days trying to get to know the golf course. But, you know, he's a young stud, and I look for him to play well this week.
You reminded me before the show today that he went across, as we know, before the Open, played in the Irish Open and won that one. So he doesn't tend to get stumbled by these first. What do you think happened with him recently in Italy, and particularly Spain? Do you think there was just a lot of pressure on him playing at home, or perhaps it was that golf course?
I think it's a combination of all of those. The golf course, really tricky around Valderrama, particularly when the wind gets up. Had an extremely busy year trying to fit in all these new events, get to know all the new golf courses, and then the travel. And also, you know, going home and having to play at home sometimes can be a little bit of a distraction. I never really enjoyed playing in my hometown. Just felt like there were so many things coming at you that you couldn't quite knuckle down and do your work. So, you know, that could quite possibly have been something that he was struggling with last week. But this golf course, I think, will really suit him because he drives the ball so well. And they always overseed it here, so there's not much run. The rough can be quite thick. And so being a good driver around this golf course is a huge advantage.
Of course, everything, when it's a first out on the professional circuit, there's so much to deal with, not just the golf courses, the travel, the culture, the food, and everything will be quite different for him over in Shanghai, China. I'm sure we're going to get into that a little bit in the next hour and just how you do deal with international travel as best as you can as a professional golfer. But now let's find out what else is happening with Damon Hack.
All right, Carl, how about the power shares? QQQ. Yes, the Charles Schwab Cup playoffs, they continue out in Thousand Oaks, California, Sherwood Country Club. Everyone chasing this man, Bernhard Langer. He won last week in Richmond, Virginia. 6 wins total this season, 15 top 10s in all. Scott McCarron, 4 wins, 12 top 10s. In fact, 9 of the top 10 players that you see here have wins this season. Kevin Sutherland does not, but he has 14 top 10 finishes. As for the format, guys, double points earned at the first 2 playoff events. Then the points will reset prior to the final event, giving all 36 players a mathematical chance to win the Charles Schwab Cup. The top 5 in the standings at the finale, you win the championship, you win the cup. Charlie, what moves you about this format? There's a lot still at stake.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot still at stake. And you know, when you look at that and you think, oh, well, it's over. Langer has won it. Not so fast. Remember, this is a playoff format. And I think that's interesting because it sort of puts golf on par with some other sports. And only once in the history of the NFL has a team gone undefeated and won the Super Bowl. So I like the fact that, you know, if you're Langer, you've had a wonderful year. No doubt about that. You're certainly going to be player of the year, but you still got to show up and finish the year strong if you're going to win the playoffs. He's managed to do it, what, 4 years in a row now. Unbelievable that he's been able to do this, you know, the way the format works. And I think it makes it very watchable because otherwise, without it, we would be having a nice event, the Tour Championship, to end the season, but there wouldn't be a lot of excitement that you get from the playoffs. And Damon, I know you follow other sports, have written about other sports extensively. Your background is phenomenal, but don't you think that this puts it in a similar light to some other sports with a postseason?
I think it gets it closer because the one difference in golf is that the major championships, whether you're talking PGA Tour champions or PGA Tour or LPGA Tour, those are traditionally the biggest events. You know, the U.S. Senior Open, the Masters, the U.S. Women's Open. So that's what the players traditionally kind of set their seasons around. But by having a FedEx Cup playoffs, a race to the CME Globe, or the Charles Schwab Cup Championship, I think it helps these players. It kind of stretches out the season. It puts emphasis on the end of the season as well. I wouldn't say that those events at the end of the season right now are necessarily up to par yet with what the major championships are because they have the history. But we're seeing history be made. We're seeing the likes of Jordan Spieth embrace a Tour Championship and Justin Thomas going to the end. Bernhard Langer has put emphasis on winning this. So it's maybe not equated to the majors yet, but I think it's getting closer. Do you as well?
I think it's definitely getting closer, but it allows a season to end with some emphasis.
Sure.
And sometimes that would happen naturally.
Right.
Most years it would not.
Yeah.
And this year, you know, clearly Bernhard Langer is a player of the year, but we just have a little more reason to watch. And then what we want as sports fans,
absolutely.
We want a little bit something more at stake and a little bit of drama. And even though the season basically is over in terms of player of the year, we do have a great reason to watch because somebody else could make a nice run in these last two events and catch Langer. I'm not betting on it, but it certainly could happen.
And the viewers can watch 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Power Shares QQQ in California. Right now, we say good morning to Matt Janella.
Good morning, guys. Great stuff. What's happening now? Junior Golf Week is what's happening now. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year. We are showcasing Grow the Game initiatives, people behind the Grow the Game initiatives. Can't have Junior Golf Week without Joe Louis Barrow Jr., the CEO of the First Tee for the past 18 years. He joins us in studio in just a bit. Also, college recruitment. We've got someone who can help. If you've got a high schooler who wants to go to college, we help both the kids and the parents. Equipment, fitness tips, that and a lot more. We also have some social media. Trevor Immelman in the house for Junior Golf Week. We asked you on Twitter if you have questions to help your kids. We can have Trevor give you a little advice. Golfer USA wants to know, what are some lesson ideas for youth when you're on a tight golfing budget?
Well, this is where you really can use the internet to your advantage. Go on, type in your favorite player's name, and like we say around here, watch and learn. And you can just try to understand what they're doing and why it works. Yeah. And once you've started to try and understand that and figured that out, take a golf club, go out in the backyard and just make a ton of practice swings. If you can, even grab some wiffle balls and hit them around the backyard, just trying to create those feels and understand club face control. Very important.
We talked about Lee Bryce yesterday and how he has his kid going out and hitting into a little bucket, just a couple balls in a bucket. It could be as simple as that, right? Hitting to a tree or a mailbox.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we've all heard the stories of Ben Hogan chipping balls into the bucket.
There you go. Worked for him. Jason Hoffmeyer, what are two or three things that a 7-year-old should focus on when starting to get into golf? You have an 11-year-old son, 6-year-old daughter. What are you using? First things first, you gotta make it fun for them. You want to create the environment to where they're really excited to come back. Once you've established that, it's all about contact on the full swing. Try and just get them to understand what good contact feels like. Don't worry too much about the grip or what the swing looks like, or if they're stepping through, or if the weight transfer isn't right. Just try and allow them to feel what it feels like to put the ball on the middle of the club face. And then with putting, try and create the understanding of speed. Hitting a lot of putts, different length putts, and try and keep the ball near the hole. Speed control in putting is something they're going to use for the rest of their golfing days. Do you like the Harvey Penick philosophy of learning the game from the hole and moving back out towards the tee? Is that kind of
Absolutely. I don't think there's any hard and fast rule, you know. Yeah. I try not to hold my kids to any one specific part of the game. You know, if they're hitting some drivers and they're like, hey, we're going to go over to the chipping green and hit some chip shots, that's fine by me, as long as they're having a good time and figuring stuff. For me, as a parent, it is so fantastic when my son or daughter comes back to me and says, you know what, I just figured out, watch how I hit this shot. Because that's what they're going to keep. That's what they're going to keep for the rest of their lives. Once they've figured it out for themselves, they've got that for the rest of their lives.
Leave them wanting to come back for a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right. And we want more questions, so send them into GC Morning Drive. We'll answer some more a little bit today and throughout the rest of the week. But for now, Cara, over to you.
Well, such good advice from a parent who knows a thing or two about playing golf. So much to look forward to across the next 2 hours, and not just the juniors. With the news yesterday that Pebble Beach Golf Links is to host its first U.S. Women's Open Championship and a 7th U.S. Open, we will rewind to some of the best National Open winning moments we previously witnessed at this storied venue. Yeah, we're just getting going on a hump day. Stay with us.
Top shelf,
Charlie's definitely going.
Top shelf.